in. All right. Hello. Hi, Rae and Dewey. We are live. Where are you guys at?
The Windy City, Chicago, Illinois.
Yep, we are in our hotel, the Embassy Suites on State Street.
Excellent. And tell me a little bit about why you're in Chicago this week.
We had a wonderful week with a National Extension Leadership Development Program. And it's been 2 years in the making. And we finally were able to launch it this year.
Yes. Yes. And so any fun experiences outside of the training, you know, the formality of it, any fun experiences out on the town?
We had a great dinner. Rae and I had a great dinner downstairs in the hotel, which is a separate restaurant from the hotel, but it was delicious. We took a couple walks around downtown. I actually went to the Art Institute, which was a lot of fun. One of my favorite places when I'm in Chicago.
We know that some of the cohorts went across the street, and there was a champagne bar or restaurant or
it's called Pops.
Yeah, and that was fun. And then there's a homemade chocolatier over there and lots of shopping and some downtime. So they tried to plan a trip to the aquarium. And I know tickets, planetarium. Oh, I keep saying that. Planetarium for last night, but tickets were sold out. Because everybody's trying to go to the planetarium.
Yes. Sounds like it. So I have to ask, I've only been to Chicago one time in my life. And when I went there, I found this fun little, you mentioned a chocolatier kind of place. I'm curious if it's the same one, but I found something called Dylan's Candy Shop. Or no? It was like,
you know, this is a big city, so
it
it's
is.
got lots of candy shops.
It is. It was down on near State Street, I thought, but it was almost like Willy Wonka's Wonderland.
Wow.
With an adult side as well, like for the adult beverages made with candy. So that was fun.
Wow. We should have tripped in on that one.
Yeah.
I know. Tell me a little bit about your travel there. Any travel issues?
None. Well, we had a flight attendant that didn't show up for work.
Oh boy.
So my plane was delayed. However, I was lucky because I was a straight flight from Kansas City into Chicago. I know there were some that were jumping and making connecting flights. There was a couple on my plane. They were actually headed to Jamaica. And so they were getting a little nervous about being able to make their connecting flight. And not only that, but they might have made their connecting flight, but did their luggage. So time got tight for them.
I bet. And Dewey, you flew out of Columbia, is that right?
Direct flight from Columbia to Chicago. And
makes it easy.
No problems whatsoever. I'm a little more worried about getting back. I hear the weather's not so good right now in Missouri. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah,
we'll be taking off tomorrow morning.
Okay, that's good. Because we've had a lot of yucky drizzle most of the morning. That's kind of that in between, kind of snow, but kind of wet, but kind of snow. And so, but I will say I sure have missed you all. I will be excited to have you back in house with me next week. So it's been an incredibly long time coming. I'm excited that you all got to go to Chicago. Out of curiosity, Dewey, why Chicago? What was that? What was the reasoning behind Chicago for our first NELD session?
I just wanted to bring people to Chicago. I love Chicago, and it's a great place to kind of bring everybody. You know, NELD serves the 13 states in the North Central region for extension. So we're talking about states from the Canadian border, North Dakota, South Dakota, Kansas, Nebraska, Kansas, over to Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio. We even had a couple from Penn State join us. So it was that whole region. So it's kind of a central location to have everybody.
Absolutely. And just for those who are just now joining us, we got some viewers that are logging on now. I'm seeing we are live from Chicago. Rae and Dewey are in Chicago. I am here in Columbia. And we just wrapped up the session 1 of the National Extension Leadership Development Program. And I want to talk a little bit about this, and I'm waiting just a couple more minutes as we're getting more folks on. So let's do this. If you're on with us right now, go ahead and give us a shout out where you're joining from in the comments section. Let me know, where are you joining us from for this particular Facebook Live? And if you are here in Columbia and you're with Extension, give a shout out to your county. Let us know. All right, so we'll keep an eye on the
here. We told all of our cohorts, we had 31 people. And I can't wait to introduce one here in just a moment. So we're very excited to bring one of our participants live with us.
Yes, yes. We're about 1 minute away from 1 o'clock, I'm seeing here. So let's just kind of dive into that a little bit. Tell me a little bit about the vision behind this leadership development program. And I know, Dewey, you really spearheaded this. How did Mizzou get it for the extension side? And then maybe what's some plans moving forward for leadership development opportunities like this?
Well, the National Extension Leadership Development Program is about creating opportunities and professional development for extension professionals in these north central states. So that was our charge, if you will, our mission. This is a program that's been around for many, many years, and it kind of travels. So before we had it, the University of Minnesota had the program. And then we were supposed to take it over in 2020, and we were a week away from starting that when the pandemic hit, and so we had to cancel. And so then we tried to plan it for 2021, and of course nothing really changed, so we had to cancel it. And so this was the kickoff. So it's been a long time coming. We've planned it. This is the third time that we've actually planned it, but it's really aimed at getting leaders and extension some opportunities for professional development in all of the land grant universities that have extension programming.
Yes. Yeah. And I know we had a lot of excitement, a lot of energy from all of our 31 participants we had for this program, this session 1. Talk a little bit about kind of what you envision maybe moving forward, and maybe that need for like a leadership development program. What benefits does that have for any organization?
Well, it's about kind of growing your own leaders, right? So it's important that, we provide opportunities for those folks to gain the knowledge and skills that they need to move into those positions when they come available.
Absolutely.
And helps with succession planning, in extension organizations in these 13 north central states.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And I think we've had discussions on our small but mighty team. You see here on the screen, we've talked a little bit about even creating this outside of extension, coming up with some leadership development programs beyond that. I know, Rae, you're getting ready to do a next steps program, which is kind of a leadership development program. Right. Talk a little bit about that for a second.
Sure. Our supervisory certificate series is one of our most popular programs that we offer. We many times take it into organizations, but we also offer it that's open to the public. And so I know we have our next series that's going to be in person in July, and we still have a few seats available. So if you're interested, we'd love to have you sign up. But as an offshoot from that, I've decided to bring a next steps. So this is from supervisor to leader. And we are really asking, that you have some experience already in supervision. So you can share the best practices as well as probably don't try this, and just sharing, but also like networking. And what is happening out there? What is next? And that'll be a 2-day. So it won't just be direct instruction. I'm really hoping to allow these professionals to share their experiences. We'll be talking about culture in organizations. We'll be talking about just things that are on a different level than just the skills of supervision.
Right. Right. First time running that program. It's going to be kind of our kickoff to an external audience leadership development program. So you can find more information about that on our website. I want to jump now a little bit. I'm seeing a lot of folks joining us. We got Beth in Fulton, Missouri. So we know Beth Fitzgerald. She's been on with us several times. Thank you, Beth. We got Nancy. She's from Gasconade County Extension in Owensville.
Hey.
Yeah, and Elizabeth, she is from here in Columbia, so she's enjoying this lovely weather we're having as well. Tell me a little bit about, and I'm going to shout this out actually to our people, because I'd like to hear from you in the chat. I'd like to know, when you think about leadership development, what comes to mind? What are some of the needs or the things that you see within your organization right now that your leaders could benefit from? We'd love your ideas on that, so share that with us in chat. But let's talk a little bit about this last week. So we started last week, we've come into this week, you're all in Chicago. So kind of recapping for our folks that are just joining us. We had 31 participants for this National Extension Leadership Development Program. And we happen to have one that stuck around to be on this Facebook Live with us. So I'd love to introduce, coming around here, I see her, and there she is. Hi, Miss Lorna Saboe-Wounded Head, and you are from South Dakota State University. Yes?
Yes, I am.
Hello. Tell me a little bit about you. Tell me how's South Dakota like? I've only been there one time.
Oh, well, South Dakota is wonderful. I'm not quite sure what the weather's like today because I haven't asked. But it can still be kind of cold, or it could be raining, or it could be snowing. It's March, so who knows? But so for South Dakota State University Extension, I'm the Family Resource Management Field Specialist. So my primary area of programming is in personal finance education, and I conduct that type of programming for all ages, from high school up to retirees and beyond. And I have worked for Extension for 5 years, although I've worked for SDSU for over 15 years. So I'm a jackrabbit, I guess you could say. So, so something is interesting about South Dakota State University. Our men's basketball team will be playing in the NCAA tournaments. I haven't seen the brackets yet, so I'm not sure who they're going to be up against. And I'm not sure about our women's team. They got second place in our Summit League tournament. And I was trying to find out if they made it then into the NCAA tournament, but I didn't find that information. So
okay.
What else do you want to know about South Dakota?
Oh, favorite place to visit in South Dakota? Tell me that.
My favorite place to visit is the Black Hills. I lived out there for about 7 years, worked there while I was in college, and it's just a favorite place to go any time of the year. I like the hiking and going to the lakes and kind of the off the trail type of activities when we go out there. So.
Oh, I love it. I had the opportunity to go to South Dakota a couple of years ago with my dad, and we visited the Black Hills, and went to Mount Rushmore, and did all the normal, I guess, travel experiences. My favorite, though, and maybe you can help me out, there was along the highway, the really long highway we took all the way up to Mount Rushmore, there was all these signs that talked about a little store, and I want to say it was like called Nowhere or no something South Dakota. I don't remember what exactly, but there was a store. I'm messing this all up, but it was really neat. And you got there, and it was this gigantic like general store, and it had old.
So was it Keystone?
No, it wasn't Keystone. It wasn't. I'll have to look it up, and I'll get back to you on that, because it was one of my favorite the whole way along this highway, and it was probably a stretch of like 85 miles, and these little signs.
Was it Wall Drug? Drug. That's what it was. Yes, Wall Drug. Yes.
Yeah.
That is our yes, we're well known for Wall Drug. The other place though, that when you come to South Dakota, you'll have to stop in Mitchell and go to the Corn Palace, because that's the only corn palace in the United States. And so there's murals outside of the building that are decorated in or created by kernels of corn. And so it's a neat to see, and a lot of people, that's either a destination or a stop along the way.
Yes. Okay. All right. You're giving me some ideas here. We're definitely going back. So,
All right. And it's great for little kids. They absolutely love it.
yes, we will. We'll have to take our little guy there one of these days. So Lorna, I just want to say thank you again. And for those just joining us, recapping, this is Lorna Saboe-Wounded Head, and she comes from South Dakota State University. She was a participant in our National Extension Leadership Development Program, which we just concluded in Chicago. Lorna's still in Chicago right now. Can you tell me a little bit, Lorna, when you were looking at leadership development programs, what stood out to you about the National Extension Leadership Development? Why did you choose coming to this program?
Well, I first heard about NELD when I first started working for Extension, because I was looking for opportunities to develop my leadership skills. And in South Dakota, we are selected essentially. I think there's a lot of people who are interested in this type of programming and professional development. So it's, I think the list is long, and then there's a decision process by the directors and program directors on who is selected to attend. And for me, within our extension system in South Dakota, we are organized by regional centers. So we have 8 regional centers across the state, and there are field specialists housed within those regional centers. And depending on what our program area is, for example, I'm the only family resource management field specialist. So my area or my audience is the entire state. There's other field specialists that there's more than one of them. But part of it was, how do I learn how to do that? I can't drive across the state and program in every community. I highly believe personal finance is needed by everyone. So it's always good to learn more. I'm very biased on that, but that's my job. And I was really just looking for, how do other people do it? I don't think that South Dakota is unique in our setup. And it's one thing that this week is so impressive. Everybody has a different area, different responsibilities. Every state has a little bit different structure and how they do extension. But there were so many common issues and common concerns and common, how do we sort this out, or how do we deal with this? Even though I'm not an administrative position, but I still could see some of those common issues across the board. So I'm also a professional development junkie. Every opportunity I can have to get a professional development, I seek it out. So I probably bugged my program director enough that she finally said, okay, you get to go this year too. So.
Well, it's a good way to do it, Lorna. Good way to do it. So, and that, honestly, and I've said this before, I said it to your all's cohort this week, and I said, honestly, the best investment we can ever make in our lives is in the area of professional development, and so I'm happy that we have folks like you that just love that and crave that. And I think as leaders, that's important. We can never stop learning, and we can never stop growing. And so some of the things that you've talked about this week in this program, of course, I've been in with you too, but I'd love to hear your perspective and your insights. What are some big aha moments or some takeaways that you have just based off of this leadership program?
Well, one of the things that we were able to do was to take the Clifton Strengths Finder assessment. And I have taken that previously, but I've never really maybe dug into it as deep as we did this week, where we really learned how, what is the significance of me knowing what my talents are? Mm-hmm. And then what's the significance of better understanding my teammates and what their talents are and how it is we can accomplish things. And it wasn't like it was brand new information that I'd never heard or heard before, but it was put in such a way that it was like a few things clicked for me. So I'm a leader, but I'm not in a leadership position. So we talked a little bit about that too, where my title isn't a leader position. And I am the leader and a member of multiple teams that have various purposes. And one thing that really stood out to me this week that is something that I'm going to take home with me and work to implement or try it out. And we talked about failures this week too, and how important they are for learning, but learning how to better understand one specific team that I work on, that where I have a little bit of conflict with my role in that team, and being able to, I guess, resolve that conflict a little bit, and not, and maybe it's just for me, but better understanding what is my purpose of the team, what is my expectation for the team, and then also looking at what other team members, what their strengths are and what their talents are, and being able to capitalize that essentially in order to be able to accomplish what we're going to work on. So for me, it was a lot of just being able to relate it to that conflict I have, and being able to think of some ways that I can possibly implement what it is I'm learning this week and see what happens. And the best part of NELD is that it's this, we get together 2 more times throughout this year. So I'm also so excited about being able to come together again, build on what we've learned this week, and then possibly be able, I'm guessing there's going to be opportunity for us to share maybe what we've done in the 2 months between each session. So just to be able to report that out and see what happens with that.
Yeah. You know, and you touched on one of the most important elements that I think a lot of people, I don't want to say forget about, but don't always apply after they leave training. And it's that behavioral change. It's what are we doing differently now that we weren't before based off what we know? You know, because we only can do what we know until we know better. And then we do better. I believe, to quote Miss Maya Angelou there.
So,
and
I'm going to interrupt you.
Oh,
So another thing that maybe I figured out this week too is I originally thought that NELD was something that, you know, I would attend and then I would bring it back to my state, right? And either present or, you know, create a cohort or do some big project or something like that. And one of the things that I've learned this week is this is so much about personal professional development, and it can be many little things that I do when I go back home, and it doesn't necessarily need to be this big production of how I'm implementing what it is I've learned. And I can use these skills in the programming that I do and in the teams that I work with.
Great. Oh, I love hearing that. And you're right. It's just those little bits, right? The little things that we can apply, and not just the check in the box I've attended and here's your presentation about it. Yeah, that's
Right.
great, Lorna. That's so great. I love hearing that. And, you know, I know that as we started out the beginning of this leadership program, we were really focused on understanding kind of the context or the environment in which you're leading. Can you talk a little bit about that particularly and how impactful maybe that was in establishing that environment, understanding that environment a little bit more?
Well, I have mentioned this a little bit already, but I went into this experience thinking that I was probably lacking something because I don't have a specific leadership role. And the way our organization is set up, there's not a lot of administrative positions. I'm not quite sure how to describe it, but we're a lot of boots on the ground, I think is the best way to describe it. And so it's not like I can develop my leadership skills knowing that's going to give me an opportunity necessarily to advance in our system. And it's not like I want to develop these leadership skills so that I can go to somebody else's system, because I really like where I'm at. So I felt like maybe I'm a little bit at a disadvantage because I don't have that opportunity. But for me, just even the last, like, I would say yesterday afternoon and this morning, it was really just that of being able to,
Aha.
I was waiting for that. Yes.
I was waiting for
Of understanding how I can just use this just within the teams that I work with, and not just the teams that where I'm the identified leader, but the teams where I am a member. Thinking specifically in South Dakota Extension, we have capstones. So I'm a part of the Food and Families capstone. So we have cover the topics of gerontology, child development, foods and nutrition, health and wellness, and then personal finance. And within that, I see just think of these different things that I can bring to the team that can, in a way, be mentoring other team members or just helping them to develop some of their leadership skills so they can go out and do the work that they're going to do. Because we need to be leaders just in our everyday work in order to make those contacts with the people that need our information, that to better be able to serve the individuals, to understand what it is that they need. If we're not stepping up and understanding their really what our audience needs, then it makes us not be as relevant as we need to be in extension.
Absolutely. And I would say the same is true for just about every organization as well. You know, when I consider some of the areas that we look at specifically in extension, when we're doing, and I'm going to call it kind of the inventory, right? The self-reflection kind of inventory check. You know, how are these areas doing? We're looking at, you know, education, we're looking at health, we're looking at maybe even the political climate, and just considering a lot of different variables there. But for any organization, I think it's important. And one of the things I'm loving about this opportunity, this week-long experience, is we're literally taking leaders out of their current environment, out of the chaos, if you will, the whirlwind, you know, the day-to-day grind, and saying, okay, time to focus on you, time to step back, time to recognize, where am I currently at? What is that context that I'm currently leading in? What's going on? How beneficial was that for you for this session?
You know, I'm excited to get back to work, and I'm also excited. I know I need to take some time to reflect, to really just sit down and think through, you know, what is it that I want to try to do? I'm one of those people who tries to do everything. So I need to figure out the one thing or the one focus over this next couple of months before we meet again. And, you know, I really feel empowered to be able to do my work better, I guess. And I feel, and it's very much me. I'm not thinking of how I can improve other people's lives with this, although ultimately that will happen. And it really, I just feel like after this week, and it probably seems weird that after 4 days, I feel this energy, but I really want to just get back to work and just tackle each team I'm on and the tasks that I need to do as a part of that team, but also be more, or speak up more about what my talent is as a part of that team, and you know, let people know, here's what I really like to do, here's what I'm good at, and here's how what I'm going to do is going to help out the team or help us to accomplish the task that we have.
Absolutely. Lorna, I want to thank you again, just for that energy, that drive. We've mission accomplished team. I know Rae and Dewey, you all are sitting over there as well, but you know, that's our goal at MTI, is to really help inspire, involve. All right. Those are some of our high values. And I'm glad to hear that some of that's resonated and you're excited to get back at it. Final thoughts when it comes to that before we turn it back over to Rae and Dewey a little bit. I got a couple follow up for them, but any additional things you just think about when it comes to this context of leadership or your experience in the program?
Well, I think one thing that has made this week very impactful is our leadership, and working with Dewey and Rae and you. And that maybe sounds corny, but we have, like, you guys have set this up so that there is so much active learning where we're introduced to a topic. we're given an opportunity to kind of dig into that topic and play with it, but then there's also that opportunity to reflect on it and evaluate what we've learned. And that's just, to me, classic active learning. And I think that that has made, we didn't sit for 3 days. We were up and moving around. We were talking to each other. We were sharing ideas. And but we were moving forward in our conversations and our ideas. It wasn't like the same thing being said over and over again. So all of you have done a great job, and I'm glad that we had the opportunity to work with you this year. I didn't get to work with the Minnesota group, but I'm sure they were amazing. But I'm glad that you're with us today this year.
Oh, thank you, Lorna.
Yeah, so thank you for letting me do this. This has been
Oh,
fun.
thank you for being on. Thank you. Lorna Saboe-Wounded Head from South Dakota State University. Oh, thank you. And now, Rae, Dewey, how does that make you feel hearing Lorna's words there?
Just want to give her a hug.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the whole reason that just solidified my why of what I do and why I do it. So that was just a nice reminder. So Lorna, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sometimes we need that too, right? We work every day to fill our participants' cups. And so Lorna, you just filled ours. Thank you very, very much. Dewey, I want to just talk briefly with our last few minutes here. And Rae, please chime in on this as well. But when we were talking about that idea of the context of leadership, and we've heard Lorna say, understanding, taking that time to kind of have some self-awareness and spend some time reflecting to get back into it, to be the best leader she can be. You were very intentional about setting the program up that way, of starting from a self-awareness point. Can you speak to that a little bit? Tell me why did we start out with this context of leadership? What's so important about the self-awareness element?
Well, to me, I think it's important that if you're wanting to lead, you better know what you're stepping into, right? It's hard. Leadership is difficult. And we've got different constraints. Maybe it's funding. Maybe it is the labor force right now. Maybe it is policy, regulation, or whatever's going on in your particular organizational environment. I think if you're wanting to lead, it's really important to understand what you're stepping into. And so that's kind of why we started with the idea of the context for leadership, and then kind of move it into, well, how can I make a difference? So if this is all going on in the environment, what do I bring to the table? What can I do to really maybe help solve problems or to lead my team in this particular environment?
Yeah.
Anything you'd like to add to that, Rae?
No, I think that was well said.
Yeah. And Rae, I had to laugh because, one of my favorite things you said at the very beginning is, I bring the fun. And you did. You did. This whole week you brought the fun from your little chime. All right, coming back from sessions. Tell me what the experience has been like for you, from your perspective as well. Just finally being here, getting here, and doing this program.
Oh, I am being in my strengths. That's always a good thing, right? When you love what you do, you'll never work a day of your life. And so this isn't work for me. This is, just kind of living my passion. And I not only love what we do and what we bring to our audience, but my team.
Yeah.
Aww.
This small but mighty team. And I'm so lucky and so fortunate, same word, every single day.
Me too.
Every single day for the two of you.
Oh, well, thank you, Rae. The same goes that direction as well. So
I've also enjoyed the idea, Bryana, of learning from our participants.
Oh,
I'm going to walk away
Yes.
from here with more knowledge and more insight that they offered to me. So I'm very appreciative of that.
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
It's been a great week. I want to throw out there, if there are any questions from our audience, from the folks that are watching, we have quite a few people on. I'm grateful for you all. Thank you for joining us for this impromptu Facebook Live.
Yeah.
But any questions you have, if you have any questions about the NELD program, if you have questions about general leadership development, please send those in now as we start wrapping up. But any final thoughts, or I guess, Rae, Dewey, as you think about where we're heading with this leadership scope, I think that's kind of been our theme for 2022 is kind of a lot of focus on leadership development, plans, thoughts moving forward. How exciting is it? Where are we going?
I always say it starts with you. Yeah. Right? It always starts with you. So anything that's going on around you from a leadership perspective is always a reflection of you.
Mm-hmm.
So Michael Jackson said it right, start with the man in the mirror.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We have a quick question here. I want to throw this up. It looks like Elizabeth's asking, what's the best way to connect the extension program? How do we learn more and sign up for this summer's leadership training? Okay. So Elizabeth, I think, was joining us. She's from Columbia as well. Maybe sounds like I'm not sure if she's part of extension or just wanting to kind of get connected with what we're doing here. So I guess to speak to both, maybe Dewey, if you can talk about just how NELD is kind of specific to the extension cohort, they're already developed, but this is a yearly thing. So if you want to speak to that, and then we can talk about the other leadership opportunities outside of NELD.
Yeah, so the NELD program itself is really specifically targeted to extension professionals in the North Central states, the North Central region. However, we do offer other types of leadership development programming. And so you could go to mti.missouri.edu. One of the things that I would encourage you to kind of think about is the program that Rae just mentioned about the next steps. Is a good place to kind of start. A lot of what we do also is provide a lot of leadership and supervision and management training specifically to organizations that will contact us. So we might even go in to a particular organization and work with them specifically. So there's lots of ways to kind of get connected with it. Another thing I might throw out there is our podcast that comes out weekly, the Weekly Workplace, where we address additional leadership topics. A leadership program doesn't necessarily have to be a big, extravagant, week-long program or that kind of thing. You can take little bits of it and work with that a little while. So coaching is another great opportunity. In fact, Rae is getting her certification in executive coaching. So she is going to be working with lots of clients one-on-one and helping them to develop their leadership capacity.
Oh, yes, lots of great things.
Jennifer. I say that Jennifer said that she loved the podcast. So thanks. We appreciate that, Jennifer.
Oh, Elizabeth saying the volume cut out for some reason. Can't hear. Email or phone number. I will put that in the email. I'll put that in the chat as soon as we finish here today. I will put that contact information in there. Well, team, let's get Rae back on there. I want to get our whole team. There she is. All right. I just want to say thank you all for this experience this week. It has been phenomenal. Even coming in virtually for it, you all are incredible. And what's next? What's the next plans for Chicago if you're not leaving till tomorrow?
Well, we're probably going to find lunch.
Good idea.
I'm starving.
And I'm a little tired too.
Yep. And a nap.
I love it. We live exciting lives here after we get done training, don't we?
Yep.
All right.
Next is we're bringing the group to Kansas City in June, and our focus there will be about connecting with others, connecting with all kinds of different stakeholders and the teams that you work with and that kind of thing.
And that involves emotional intelligence.
It does. A very important piece. I'm excited to bring that to the team. So I am not seeing any other questions coming in, team. And again, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to be a part of this team and this program. And Rae, I think I want to go ahead and just throw it over to you.
All right. Go be great.